Good morning. Figure I should put my apron on. Hello. Good morning. I am, if you didn't read the title, I'm prepping for market days. It'll be my first ever. I'm going to have a 10 by 10 booth, basically, and it's my first time. I'm excited. So I'm just going to be seeing what I could crank out today, as far as maybe some stackables, stackable rings, maybe some pendants, nothing too crazy or major or whatever. But I've got a few new solderable accents, and of course I've got a whole boatload of stones that I really want to work with. I want to do something that will appeal to everybody. So I was thinking about making a few bypass rings, or rings that are like adjustable. That way that someone there can pick it up. So I am going to be playing with my camera angles because I think it would be neat to really show you guys what I'm doing up close. But yeah, basically it. I could not find my pickle solution. So I'm currently using vinegar and salt in my pickling solution. So that's I'm gonna have to work that out. Hi, Elizabeth. So yeah, I have already prepped a few items that I didn't get to finish in time for my last week's auction. But it's just very simple. Like I have a labradorite here. I've got a kite-shaped amethyst, and then just working on a few other things. But as I mentioned, I'm just wanting to make something simple, something to give people an idea of what the Moonstone Mamas is and what I'm all about. So I'm probably going to be taking my smaller stones that I have. They're a little bit easier to work with, and go from there. And what I mean easier to work with is I'm not using as much silver, so I can price accordingly. But I do want to pick out some fun stuff. So I definitely have some labradorite. Labradorite is always a popular one. And then, of course, I have some moonstone here that I'm going to use. And I may throw in, I also have a little eyeball that I'm working with too. So we'll get that going. A few things to appeal to everybody. I don't want to like completely overwhelm myself and have too many things on my plate, but I figured if I have some things, it's better than not having any handcrafted stuff. So also I want to play with, if I can get it off the board here, I want to play with some stud shapes, some pyramid shapes, to get that going. I think that'll be lots of fun. And go from there. Try to make a few pendants, like I said, and of course use some of the solderable accents I have. These are some ones that I'm really excited about. I've got some stars, and I just keep them in this little container here. Moon shapes. These are little crystal cups. Of course, I've got the bison. I was thinking about just making, those are just so cool. I can't wait to use them. Some puff hearts. So I'm just gonna go right ahead into it. Let's go ahead and see if I can move this here. Take you guys on a journey with me. All right. Now you're up close and personal. So I have a kiln brick here. I have it on just a an old, what is sheet pan, and then I have a soldering board. I like my soldering board. I feel like it conducts heat better. I really liked the charcoal block. I was using a charcoal block for a little bit, but I don't think that I had my temperature adjusted correctly because I was just burning through it. So it wasn't conducting as well as I would have wanted to. So to start off, I've already soldered this one. You can see that's where this is a very rough, but this is a Russian charrite. I fitted it to the stone because that was the plan. I was going to do a little cute thing here and make a little pendant. I think it would be cute. Something a little on the spookier side, maybe, you know, for Halloween to appeal to people. And then, of course, I've got this, which is the kite shaped I was referring to. I've got a few more labradorites that I think I'm going to play with. Of course, I've got crescent moon, and I got these in, which are little longhorn skeletons. And of course, I have some turquoise that I've already made a little solder out of it. So I've got a few things, like I said, I'm working on. The other things I've sold already, which is great. But I'm kind of just wanting to, like I said, knock some stuff out for the market days. So let's see if I can't adjust my camera really quick. There we go. All right, so I have these already soldered up. So I usually stick them just over here, kind of just have a place on my board. And then I've got this one already soldered up, and I think I was just going to figure out something to do with this, whether I make a pendant out of it, but I have a little piece of turquoise. So this and this here. I am going to make some bezels for this. I'll make these into like little, I think they're really cute little rings here. And of course, they're about the same size as these. So I'm going to take a few of these and make those into there too. Labradorite and Moonstone are always a popular seller. So, and then maybe I'll take an eyeball or two and all that. So I'm going to use, what did I use for this? Serrated. Let's see if, now here's what you do. You're going to take your bezel wire here, and I have this bezel wire. It's a little bit thinner, so this may not work for this, or this may be absolutely perfect. On the smaller ones, you just obviously, you can either eyeball it or you can use your caliper and you can measure it. The thing that you're looking for is you want the scalloped edge, or whatever your edge, to basically come up over the curve of the stone. So on cabochons, if you notice, it's like a top of a hamburger bun, as I equate everything to food. You have your flat part here, the up, and then it curves upwards. Okay, I know there's a technical term for it, but today we're just doing hamburger buns. Okay, so I'm basically just going to take it, and I've got a pen in my hair here. Oh, Elizabeth, have fun. Have a good day. So basically what I'm going to do is a circle obviously is going to be one of the easier things to turn into a bezel since there's no edges, but you basically just don't want to start on a corner. So you can either take your pliers or you can take your hands, and I'm probably going to just go like this so you can see. But I take my little pointer finger here and my thumb, and I am just winding it around here. You want to pull it as tight as possible so that you have an accurate depiction of your stone shape as possible. Like I said, you could use pliers. And another thing too is you want to make it as tight as possible so that you can sort of overlap the pattern. And as you can see here, when I pull it up, the overlap, so you have the one and you have the other, you kind of want to cut where it will be, you're not going to lose as much pattern, so it's not going to be as noticeable that you soldered two completely separate edges together. So at this point, as I throw something, my goodness, I'm going to take my my marker here. I usually have it, it's already kind of stuck the space that I want it, but sometimes it loses it a little bit. I'm going to mark a line, and then I'm going to take my flush cutters, and I'm just going to get that there. So there it is, and that's how to make a bezel. And of course, you want to fit it, make sure you have it correctly. So I'm just going to do this a few more times, and of course, you can use other wire. This, of course, is the scalloped. I have serrated. I have gallery. Here's the. I soldered this one, but I didn't get it. I melted it on accident. Kind of have to be careful with the more intricate of the design. As you can see, I heated it and melted it, but that's okay because I can always literally utilize some of the parts. This one, let me show you why this gallery wire would not be good for this Moonstone cabochon. It's too big. So when I pull the stone up here, maybe it'll help if I just go like this, you can see that the gallery wire, you're going to lose so much visually from the stone. The gallery wire is just going to come up over the stone and it's going to block all of it. So this would be too high of a bezel to work with. Similar to this here, which is the straight wire. That's why you would have to cut it to size, and that's where a caliper comes in and all that stuff. But basically, when you're making a bezel, you want to make sure that the bezel doesn't come up over the curved edge of your cabochon. Okay, so I also have, wherever I put it, a serrated edge, and I'll just pull you guys up for a little bit to show you what I'm doing. I'm just looking over here. I was like telling myself, oh, I'm gonna make sure that when I get over here, I'm gonna be more organized. Guess what? She lied. Now I just have more space to be more disorganized. Okay, so same thing here. You have your serrated edge. Here's the difference. Scalloped, serrated. Okay. So I want to do the same thing, and this would be perfect as well. And like I said, I'm looking for something I don't have to put that much energy into, meaning like I don't have to cut the bezel wire. If I have to for another stone, if let's just say someone came and was like, hey, I really want this and I really want this wire, well, then I would manipulate it and make sure it fits. But anyways, nevertheless, so same principle. I'm going to take my thumb and I'm going to take this and I'm basically going to just twist it around. And of course, it's not going to show very well. And here's a prime example of why you may want to use pliers as well, because I'm actually bending the wire. But you just manipulate it with your finger. And I find that since I'm self-taught, this may not be the right way to do it. Oh, thank you. But it worked for me, and it has worked for me. So I'm still learning. And of course, you're just going to take it, I go like this, take it and like kind of like a marble, twist it around, hold it taut. All right. And so then you can see here where the bezel started and where it ends. Sometimes it helps to pull it a little bit more taut, but kind of want to fiddle with it a little bit. Make sure you got that line. So then I would take my pen. Normally I'd have a little bit of a smaller one, but take my pen here, mark it. And with the serrated, not too worried about the design. Since it's serrated, it's a little bit more jagged. I can kind of mimic that. And so there it is. I've got that. So here's the difference here. serrated, and scalloped. So I'll do that with this one too, with the labradorite. And of course, you can, on your bench pen, you can take and use pliers if you wanted to, and start it up if you don't maybe have the finger strength or something, and that's okay too. But I just kind of go in with it, just use my fingers. And so doing the same thing, slow-mo, and just twisting. You don't really have to worry so much about the shape of it right now, because you're mostly just worrying about getting the fit right, getting the shape. Basically that there's enough space around the stone. So then I'm going to take it, snip it, and there's another one. Okay. And then I'll do one that's a scalloped. Oh, I have 2 and 2. Go from there. Here's that. And let's just say your gallery wire or your bezel wire is too hard or it doesn't manipulate. I would suggest annealing it, which is just basically heating it, and you're going to quench it. You're going to put it in your, you don't have to necessarily clean it, since you're just wanting to soften the metal. But I definitely suggest annealing it. It makes manipulating the metal so much easier. So again, I'm just twisting this around, making sure that it's as tight to the stone as possible. I can see where I have started a new line, so I'm not going to use my pen, but I am just going to take where my line is here, and there we go. Okay, so I have 4, and let's do a blue eye and a green eye. And basically I'm wanting to do the same thing. I've kind of just went ahead, and since this is super soft, and when you're purchasing your bezel wire, it'll tell you whether or not it is hard or soft. Hard meaning that it's not been annealed and that it's going to be difficult if you don't anneal it to manipulate the silver. So you can, sometimes the gallery wire only comes in hard and you have to anneal it. Either way. So of course I'm going to do the same thing. It doesn't matter where you start on a circle, because it's a circle. If you start on something that is like this, you want to start in the middle. You never want to start on a corner. Okay, so I'm taking it and moving it around. And sometimes it helps holding it taut and then pulling it. You really want to make sure you have a nice tight fit. No gaps. It makes setting the stone so much easier. And you want to cut it as straight as possible. And there's that one. Hey, Catgo. Did you see my email? Here's the blue gold stone. If you didn't see my email, excuse my nails, guys. It seems like I can never keep my nails clean out here. Here is the blue gold stone that I have. And I think it would make a really cool, I was actually going to make one out of howlite today, but I think that this would be a really cool ring. You just let me know. I've got tons of different stones. All right. I've had this totally cool, exactly. I love it. I think it's so much fun. I think it gives a really fun depth to the piece, and you can concentrate a lot of the, the focal point on the actual stone. So that's where I love jewelry, in a sense that you can make it however you want to make it. Okay, so I have one here that's the scalloped. I'll take my serrated and I'll do this one. Just the same thing here, taking it, getting the bezel wire as close to the stone. And these eyeballs I got off of Etsy, and they're just glass with a foiled back. And so I'm going to take it and I just basically pull and fitting it as close as I can as possible here. And then I'm just going to snip it. And there we go. So, since I burnt the thread out of this one, just going to snip I don't think that this will be big enough, but it would be cool with this gallery wire thing. I think that'd be fun. Or I can always do the serrated. Let's just do the serrated, see how it goes. Okay. So, of course, on something like this that has angles, I don't want to start on a corner. It's harder to solder a corner. So I'm going to take it, and sometimes I do need a little help making the corners. If I didn't want to use my pliers, I would just take something and throw everything everywhere. Sorry, just going to get my fingers out of the way. It's the first time I have you guys up and close here, so this is interesting for me. All right, so again, just using my fingers. I think the wire wrapping really helped strengthen my fingers a bit. So it's interesting how you go and do different things and you gather those skills from the different things that you need. So definitely try it all until you get to a point where you're happy and you want to solder, or if you're stuck with wire wrapping and you like it, do what makes you happy. So I tried it and I could not get with it. So here I have it here, and you can just lift it up and you can see I have the square. So I'm going to take it down here and kind of just hit the edges with my fingernail, or you could use whatever you want to kind of make the line better. I am going to use my Sharpie on this one. Did it just there. And come back with my flush cutters. And there we go. All right, so let's do some soldering. Now, this isn't going to take much to solder these because these are small. The trick is not using too much heat so that I can actually not burn the crap out of these. So that's the fun part, is heat control. So bringing you guys up here. So I usually keep everything stone-wise over here. Cool thing about a bench and being your own bench, you can write on it whatever makes you happy. I usually line things up, and at this point, since I'm using a lot of the stuff that has the same shape, I won't have to worry so much about the particular stones. However, you can label them however which way it's best for you. Now I'm going to take my hard soldering wire. You can use soldering paste. You can use soldering, the sheets. But I'm going to use some wire. I find it's easier. Take the edge, and I just cut it directly on my board. I take the tip of my finger and I snip little bits. I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 pieces that I'm going to be doing today. But let's just get a little bit more just because. So, and they don't have to be, that's probably extremely too big. Since they're little pieces, you don't have to make them too big. Cutting just 10 of them because they'll jump sometimes, or I'll lose them, or whatever the case. I don't like to do so much cutting solder in advance, just because. Another thing that I do before I solder is I fill up my torches. I've got this right here, which is 5 times refined butane, and I have 2 torches because I don't have patience to wait sometimes. Your beachication order, if you do order like the soldering starter kit, comes with a torch. So this is the one I had gotten from Beachication. And basically what I have found, and upon research, is you have your hole here, tip there. Ugh. I'll get my camera angles right one time or another. But I just wanted to get you guys, I'm making a couple of rings or pendants, whatever fits my fancy. Just prepping for a booth that I have. And so you're gonna make sure they're married or they're stuck together here, and you're gonna fill it up until it leaks out the top. And obviously butane's gas. So you want to make sure that you wait at least 5 minutes, more time is the better, to make sure that it's dissipated from the air. Again, I get up and close it and make sure they're married together. I put the bottom up, right up against my bench, just like this. You can see the bottom here. And once it starts gassing out, that's when I know it's full. So I filled it up beforehand, but I always like to make sure I top them off. Of course. Put it back. So here we go. I have my nose itch. This is where I keep all of my screw. Here. Okay. I've got my soldering pick. I've got my solder here. This is what I use for my flux. Cuprinil. I had this one right here, my handy flux, but I'm trying to soften it up because I left the cap off of it. So I got to put some more water in it. But it's pretty, there's some on the bottom that's actually started to goop up again, which is good. So I like this stuff. So before you solder, obviously give extra time for the butane to dissipate. You're going to check your bezels. So what I do here, bring you guys closer and downwards. So basically what I'm checking is to make sure that we have as close to minimal gap as possible. Solder does not fill a gap. So you have to make sure that these 2 pieces marry, basically come together as close as possible. And sometimes that means filing, making sure these can sit on each other well enough here. So you're looking for something like this. And of course, I think I tinker with it about 1,000,000 trillion times because you kind of want to make sure that you can't see. any line on the bottom there. So that's what you're going for. And as you can see, it makes it as though, oops, there's no line. And that's what I'm going for. Okay, there's one. Here's another one here. And so you can see this one's gonna have to be one that I'm gonna have to file and try to show you what I mean by that. Let me look at the camera a little bit. Let's see here. So I have my line. This guy's a little off center. It's not very straight. This guy is a little bit more on the straighter side. So I can take my, which I'm going to do, my flush cutters here, and I'm just going to straighten this edge out a little bit because I cut it at a bit of an angle. Okay, so I kind of fixed it there, and I'm going to take my file and I'm going to file it. And so when I bring the pieces back together, they're a little bit more on the straighter side. So then I can see that from my flush cut, it created kind of like a point. So I'm going to just come over here to this side and file down my point a little bit. If I had a jig, this is where I would come in with my jig, and I would make sure that they're completely straight with my jig, but I don't have one yet. So here's that. Now what I do is if you have metal, of course this metal is soft, it's been annealed, but the more you play with it, you're creating tension, which means it's going to hold its shape better. And this is where I say it really doesn't matter about the size right now, is because you're just wanting to make sure that these pieces come together without a gap in them. You're going to marry them together. So this is what we're looking for. And again, I'll work on the camera angle better so that this is all you're seeing. But of course it's shiny. So, okay, let's see here. All right, so here's the next one. Again, it's another serrated. And hopefully you can see. Move my light a little bit. It's wanting to. I'll get better each time. I promise. So when I use the flush cutters, a lot of times it doesn't cut completely flat and straight. Things come to a point. So I just take my flat, whatever this is, a file, and file it. I'm just getting rid of that peak point. Come over here to this side, do the same thing. And if you don't have files like this, an emery board works just the same. And I'm just getting rid of the piece. So then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to start to manipulate it again and bring tension and bring them together. And there it is. Next one, which is the scalloped edge. When they're thinner, you can kind of manipulate them a little bit. I'm going to take and just file the inside just to decrease the possibility of having any kind of peaks. And start the tension again. The bigger the stone or the bigger the thing, sometimes you have to file more. It just depends on what you're working with. There's another one here. Just going to open it up. File the peaks. You're going to have a better bond when the pieces are flat and lined up together. Got another scalloped here. And of course on the scallop, since it's a little bit of a thicker gauge, I can definitely see the that peak point a little bit more here. So I'm just going to knock them down. Okay. And then make some I go side by side, and then sometimes I go up and down. But I do notice here that this one is a bit more at an angle, and a lot of this is tedious work. It's just how much of a perfectionist do you want to be today, basically. The more clean your solder joints are, the better longevity of your jewelry, the better the pieces will hold up, the better the piece will look. So depending on how meticulous you want to be is how great your jewelry is. All right, so then this is a fun one. This is the square. And as mentioned, you can kind of see, since they're cut sort of identically with the same tool, they are cut at an angle, which kind of is a benefit. But I am going to, again, just take my file here, knock down the peaks. And again, I'll say it again, I am not worried about the shape, mostly just worrying about getting the wires put together. It can shape it later. And when you're cutting it off, you want to make sure you're not cutting too much off, because you do want to make sure that it's going to fit your stone. So now what I'm going to do is I have everything set up here. Let's see. There you go. Add some water to my quench bowl, which is just a cup of macaroni and cheese. It's the plastic. Okay. So what I do After all of that is set up, put away a lot of my tools that I don't need. Take my solder pick. I use pliers often. So what I do now is I put all of them cut side down. And I space them out. Since these are a little bit more dainty, I don't want to melt them. So I'm going to spread them out just a little bit and try to get them a little bit more flatter so I can do this. You can always do it on the side. You can have your third hand hold them. But I find that this way works best for me, is to stand them up. So I got my pickle on the ground because there's something about the pickle pot and me and my husband that we are always dumping the pickle pot. So take the first one here, and it's pretty fast, to be honest, because these are so small. I spray it with the Cuprinil, and this is just to prevent fire scale. It's been plenty of enough time. I like this torch the best between the two that I have. The other one I got off of Amazon. So my flame is way too high. Always make sure your flame is back here. And since I've just filled them up, they're going to be a little bit more high-powered, I guess. So I take and I sprayed with the Cuprinil. I heated it up so that my flux bubbles a bit, so my solder will not jump off of it. I take a tiny piece of solder, and some of these are way too big, so take a little piece of solder, stick it here, right on the edge, the in-between. And I'm going to take my heat, and I'm not even going to try to heat the actual piece. I'm just going to try to use, and it melted. That's how fast it goes. Very, very fast. And I knock it down, and I hit it on the other side to bring the solder back through. And that's how fast it goes. So then I take my tweezers, quench it, and it's soldered together completely. Stick it in the pickle. Now let's bring you guys closer and see if maybe you can see it a little bit better and not light anything on fire. All right, so again, we're going to repeat the process, and of course, the more advanced you are, the maybe easier it could be for you to knock out like 15 of them at a time. But because I'm still a beginner, I still like to do things one at a time. So again, I'm going to spray it with the Cuprinil, which again is going to prevent fire scale, and it's the flux. I'm going to take and heat it up because I do not want my solder to jump around. It just takes a little bit. I'm going to take one of my smaller pieces. I mean, it's super small. Stick it right on the junction or the in-between. And it happens quite fast. And see, my solder's jumped. That happens. And again, I'm going to just back it up, moving it constantly. It happens really quickly. And while the solder's still hot, I'm going to make sure it actually melts. And not much. I have not tried a titanium solder pick. You can see my solder pick is just absolutely busted. I guess it's not busted per se. It's just fused. But in the line of things that I'm wanting to get, that's not really high up on my list just yet. So here's another one. Same thing. You're just going to repeat the process. Flux, heating, solder. The thing that takes for me, that I take the most time doing, is making sure there's nothing worse than doing all of this and then melting your metal. That just sucks. So I often will take time to make sure, keeping the heat away as much as I can. It doesn't take that much to heat something this small up. And there we go. You can see the red hot of the solder. It turns an orange through it here on the other side. You just want to make sure that you're not only just getting the one side of the bezel, but you're getting the other side as well. And into the pickle it goes. So again, just repeating the process. Let's see how close I can get you guys here. Let's do this one. Sticking it basically fused side down. I can see right here. And same thing. Hit it with the Cooper nail. Taking my solder. Okay. Not even like, you can see, that's why I kind of like the solder pad, because I feel like it really, I don't know, it conducts heat well. So I want to make sure that the solder actually hit the seam and then pulls through. Quench pot, pickle pot. Here's another one. Seam side down. And this is it, really. You just want to make sure your lines are clean. You want to make sure you're consistent. Practice makes perfect. This is way too much solder, so I am going to take my flush cutters here and grab it. Ah, it's missing the tip. All right, Devin. Okay. Second to the last one. And see, I didn't hit it with the, I didn't flux it, then heat it. I just fluxed it, put the solder on, and heated it. And if you're doing like sticking the bezel to a back plate, kind of want to be a little bit more, I don't know, diligent to make sure that you melt your flux a little bit, because it does have a tendency to jump. You stick them in a place where you want to stick them, and then but two, it jumps off and it's quite frustrating. So, all right, I want to make sure this piece isn't hotter than bananas. So again, not paying too much attention about getting these the shape correct, as I want to make sure that I stand it up right, so I can get the solder to melt. So bending it a little bit. And of course, this would be where the third hand comes in clutch. There we go. Sticking it on the third hand now. See, two big pieces. Let me get one. So then when my solder doesn't want to stick, another thing you can do is heat your solder and it'll ball up like that, and you can stick it on your actual bezel instead of it just being kind of like a noodle. And there we go. And there we go. Sometimes. So then I've had things in my pickle pot for a hot minute. You use copper tongs only to get stuff out of the pickle pot. And you remember mentally to bring paper towels out here. But since I forgot, I'm using something that's I could dry these on. Copper tongs. I'm going to look at them and see. They look good. So. All right. I know. It was a really cheap bench from Harbor Freight, so I can't complain too much because it served me really well. 7. All right, I got all of them. Okay. So now they're all right here. I've got some half round, and of course I've got some silver. I've got my bezel mandrel. More half rounds, just hanging out. And I've got this guy. So then this is the time where I will fit them to the stone. So I take the stones. Oh yeah, 200. I think I got this one for less than 200 for sure. And just kind of making sure everything fits. Paper towel on there. Go. All right. So another fun part is I have some silver here, and basically we're going to put these to the back plate of the silver. This is one that gave me a hard time. I have to sand it a little bit better. This one too. So this is just pieces of silver, 26 gauge. And as you can see here on this one, I have a little bit of extra silver that was on here originally. That had used too much heat and melted it, and just how it is. I have this, which is a literal dick. That's the brand, Dick. I got this real brand and loving it. Not gonna lie. I was like, I don't need to get a big file. Yes, you do. It helps immensely to have a big file. What I like about it is you have serrated edging on the sides, on the tip, and of course both sides. So if you need to get in between in the small sections, you can. So basically what I'm doing here is I'm making sure I have a flat surface. Very similar. These pieces, pickling them, yeah. I just had extra silver on it. I want to make sure to knock them down so I can have as flat of a surface as possible. And then, yeah, they are dirty. Into the pickler. Hi. So, I get to decide which is which and which is which and how I want to do things. So this is the fun part that comes in here, is you get to decide whether you want, rings. I can make these into like a bypass ring, or whatever the case. So what I think I'm going to do, pendants or whatever, is make some of them into bypass, and the other ones maybe pendants or rings. So I'm going to take my solderable accents here, see what I have. This is where fun and creativity come in. You got it. Thanks for hanging. Have some feathers here and some more moons. A bunch of stuff. Okay. Have my ring mandrel, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my little bit of a heavier gauge half round here. Yay! You're welcome. I hope you love it. That piece was absolutely extraordinary. So I'm going to take my heavier piece of half round here, and I'm going to do 8.5. Oh yeah. All right. So let's play here. I've got this guy right now sitting at about a 9. But let's see. I'll have green here, and then I do love the moons. I also have a very fun star. Hearts, flowers, leaves. Do a leaf on one side, and we'll do that on that side. Yeah, let's experiment with that a bit. Yes, let's do that. Okay, so before I go nuts, I'm going to stamp my initials in here. That's what I do. Was gifted a 925 stamp by Miss Jewelryland Stephanie out of the kindness of her heart for Christmas last year. And I use it, and I have it somewhere. perfect time to use it. Ooh. One day I'll get it together. Yippee! That's me. Woo, hiccups. All right. So, get out of that pickle. All right. Good gravy boat. The wrestle with the pickle. Okay. Those will be my black plate, back plate. Hello. All right. Let's do this. I'm going to clear off the hard here because I no longer need hard solder. I now need medium solder. So I'm going to find my hard solder bag. Open her on up. Stick these cuties in there. Waste not. Okay. And then I'm going to grab me a marlin. I'm going to grab me some mediums. Medium. Hey, Mom. Good morning. And this is kind of where you go a little 8 because I'd rather have too much solder than not enough. So I'm going to do the same thing I did earlier. Take my finger at the end and various sizes, trying not to have them escape. Sounds like clipping toenails, but it's not. And I use the medium so much that I tend to just bend it, and I've got like a little hook here that I put it on. All right, so the main thing here is putting my little bezel cups on here. And if I do this the right way, which, who knows, if I do this the right way, I can heat up more than one at a time, which would be rock and roll, honestly. And this would be my first attempt at doing such crazy madness, but let's have a little fun. Okay, And basically you're looking here to make sure that everything is flush. Solder does not fill a gap. So again, same principle applies. You want to make sure that if you do see any, just file the bottom. The thing that sort of gets me in the butt is sometimes I like to stamp the bottom of my plates. So it tends to cause a little unevenness. But this looks pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and liberally spray this down and add, basically going to, since this is a bigger piece, I'm going to turn up the heat just a little bit here, but basically I'm crystallizing the flux so that I have no solder jumpers. And at this point, it is personal preference on how much solder you want to use. I would consider using about 4 pieces of small solder in each of these, but it's a little extreme, but having that peace of mind is enough for me. Maybe 3 little pieces per cup would be cool. Just making sure that you have enough. There's no rules on how much solder you can use. You can use as much as you want. Just bear in mind that if you have excess, you're just going to have to file it off. So make sure you have a clean pendant or ring, clean surface, basically. And you want to make sure that you put the solder, can't really see, let's see if I can bump you up just a little bit. So that example is, my hand's shaky right now, but I'm basically putting the solder to the edge of the bezel and touching the base plate. Okay, so I'm going to move this forward just a little bit like this here. Add more. And so what's going to happen is I'm going to take my torch and go around it. I'm basically wanting to evenly distribute the heat. Now, I have a tripod. I could go underneath, but I find that the soldering pad here really conducts heat well enough that I don't have to touch the bezel if I don't have to. So let's try. And this is where patience comes in, and sometimes I don't have it. I'm not gonna lie. I don't know if you can tell, but my torch is running out of butane. I may have to start on, I'm going to stop with that because I'm going to need some heft, and I'm going to go to this one. And here we go. Again, let's start this one. And sometimes that happens. When you tip your torch a little too much, it goes out. Not a big deal. Keep on going. And so I'm just working my way around the outside edge of the cups and the base plate, trying to evenly heat up the item here. This is a bit of a bigger piece, and sometimes it helps when you stand up. Hi, Jonna. That way you can kind of get a feel for it all. But slow and steady wins the race, huh? Because when it does end up heating evenly, and you do get it, it goes pretty fast. It's just getting it there. And it doesn't help that I have a fan like over there, so you can see it. Sometimes I stand in front of it. We're getting there. Now I'm just going in and making sure that all the solder around has melted, that there's no extra bits anywhere. There. I'm just going on my solder pick. Get off! Leave me alone! Alright, and we're good. Now this can be really hot, for those who may not know. Ready? Into the pickle. Alright. few more to do. Spray it with a bit of cooper now and set it. And this one, I just need to make sure that it's going to lay flat. So if you see, I put it on here, and a little edge right there is up. So, ooh. Okay. So I'm going to take my sanding paper here, my wet dry. And hit it. Hit it, hit it, hit it, hit it. And I'm going to make sure it fits my stone here. Very good. Okay. Then got this guy. Add any more? All right. Again, same thing. I'm going to take my solder bits and stick them around there. I've already coopered out the back of it, the back plate. I'll spray it a little bit more. Just going to crystallize it a bit. When you're working with something in the corners, always recommend putting solder in your corners. It's easier that way. There we go. Let's do it again. There we go. Now it's going to be hot. I'm just checking to make sure that they're all adhered. The other ones. I do think that I like the citric acid better. I feel like it does a better job at cleaning it. Maybe I'm just not patient enough of it being in the pickle. So now, the fun part, I'm going to saw these out with my saw. And I haven't installed my bench pin. So I was telling my husband, my bench pin doesn't open up wide enough. Oh, maybe it does. No, I don't think so. Yeah. It doesn't open up wide enough. Plus, my drawers open and close, so it's really not going to work. So, I have to figure out another spot to put my bench pin. Because I need it. Dang it. La, 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 la. Oh, la, la. Anyways, I'll figure it out. Either way, now I've been using the side of my bench to cut them out, which isn't always the best thing, but all right. So I have my blade in here. I am making some rings and pendants and stuff for an upcoming market days in Texas. So with my, you want to make sure you hear like you can play it. You always want to lube up. This is cut lube. Lube it up. If you don't have cut lube, use candle wax. Okay. So then, yes, I'm using the side of my bench. I'd recommend you using something different, like a bench pin. So let's make it loud. So I'm going to be sawing. So then I just take my flush cutters here and kind of hit them a little bit. Save my scrap. There we go. Now you could turn these into little balls, your scrap, or whatever. All right. So again, saving my scrap. Get the edges. It doesn't have to be perfect. At this point, you could if you want to, I guess. Another thing I like to do, because I'm lazy, is take my silicone. This may get loud, and go around the edges. But basically, I like to use literally every bit of these silicone. It just helps immensely, in my opinion. And they're kind of on the expensive side, so I just like to use every bit. So it's not perfect, but it's getting there. Same thing. Just take, file down the heavier bits. And a majority, I mean, literally, I say before in the Soldering Chronicles, is a lot of the times you're filing or prepping or getting things together, it doesn't take that long to actually apply heat to something. Hi, Cinnamon. All right, so let's talk about this ring here. So I liked the idea of putting the feather here and then having it be a bit of a bypass ring and having this here. ring and feather. So with that being said, I am going to have to do the same thing, which is make sure I have a leveled spot so that the items can adhere to each other. This time too, you want to clean up the edges, everything. On both sides, and basically I'm turning the half round more into flat. Worry about manipulating them later. You're just wanting to make a flat surface to adhere the pieces to. So I am going to take my serrated bezel cup here and stick it into my third hand. Sometimes these pliers are, these cross-locking tweezers rather, are like the death of me. Nothing makes me more violently angry is when they don't cooperate. That's a party! Yay! Thank you. Let's focus here and do this. We have to figure out a different way to get this going. I know I have some other cross-locking tweezers around here. I may have to use those. Or I actually may just have to remove it from my third hand and use it like this. It's all the fiddling. Basically, that's how I want it. Okay? That's how I want it. And the game is making it stick. So, I have a two actually. So now, again, with my medium solder, taking it So,
no, it's sort of excessive, but I have run into times where it has just not stuck, not melted the way I wanted it to. And I would rather be a little excessive and have to file away some of the solder than have to worry about it not adhering properly. I'd say that's pretty good. So then, same thing I want to do to the feather. And what I'm going to do is actually spray it. Sometimes you just got to put a piece of copper underneath it, like the rope. All about that. Okay, so again, I've already put the cuprinol on it and crystallized it. So now I'm putting the solder on it. Again, it may seem a little excessive, but I want to make sure that everything adheres. And then after this, shoot.
Also need to eat.
Hey, Laura. So that could also be the reason, or could be hands. All right, here we go. It's like in the morning, I find it so difficult to eat because I enjoy my coffee, and then I'm like, all right, it's time to get moving. So I know there's probably going to be an easier way, and someone's like shouting at me, like, oh my gosh, what's wrong with you? Just do it like this. It's so easy. You're making it so difficult for yourself. Yes, welcome.
Yep, that's a party right there.
That's what I want you. And this is where I want you. Yes, thank you.
Yes, indeedy. And just like that.
That the pickle. All right. So again, very similarly, we'll go with first one always takes the longest. We'll go with this guy. This is a pretty popular one here. Again, I've got my this. Go with the size 8 just to start. It's a pretty standard number. It's adjustable, so it can go smaller, it can go bigger. Make this even, just snip, snip.
And so there we go.
Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to undo it here. I'm going to stamp my name in it. All right. So then, again, do the same thing. I'm going to take this guy and I'm going to file down that design. And then come over here on this side and do the same thing. So then I'll take another guy there. Boom. Okay. We need some more solder. So I always use an excess in my medium. So I was thinking about doing the curved balls here. I think it would be really cute to curve into that there. Pretty sturdy balls. So then with this one, I am going to do a, what is it called? I want to say a ghost solder, but it's not ghost solder. Basically, I'm going to melt the solder on top of the balls. And so that way, I can just place my bands on top and they'll be soldered already on. Go. And then I'm going to take this guy, place it just like that on top there. And heat up the bands and no. That's hot. That's hot. Please stay. Thank you. No! Ooh, it only adhered to the small amount. Small spot. Let's do that again and hope that I can get it. right, classic. Too much heat.
Too much heat.
There it is. Here's the first one, straight out of the pickle. She's a classy girl. That's a nice one. Love it. Yay. All right. The other one, let's do another half round. Let's do this here. Hi, Carolyn. I am doing some soldering, prepping for Righty Tighty Lefty Lucy. Prepping for market days that I'm going to be going to this Saturday here in Texas. I think so. think I'll do the star. Star might be too big. So I think what I'm going to do. You guys think that the star is too big? I think the star is way too big. I think it might be too big. All right, that's what I thought. Too big. Kind of big. Kind of way too big. Let's see what I got in my scrap. Might find something fun. Maybe this part. Ugh. Do the heart. The heart of the big. Just gotta fix it right. Don't keep plastic by your stuff. It'll melt it. All right, guys. So that's basically what I'm going to continue to do is making the bypass rings and probably turn a couple of them into pendants or something. I still have the pyramid and stuff to do, but I see I've been on for 2 hours and I'm hungry. I haven't had breakfast yet, and it's almost 1 o'clock over here, so I may just have lunch. Anyways, I just want to thank you guys. What's going on over here? Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me today. Yeah, if you ordered from me Thursday, everything is going to go out today or has gone out today. You should have got the notification via email. So any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to email me. And again, thanks for hanging out. I'll see you on the next one, guys.